Welcome to Fire Up the Mic. This episode, we have ghost stories. Would you like to hear some ghost stories? The first story is Matt. His girlfriend is moving into a place that may be haunted. The second story is Lauren, the girlfriend, moving into it. We also have our friends from Fire Up the Mic telling their stories. We also have Sammy on here telling her story. We also have Dave Scott from Spaced Out Radio, who has given us one of his stories. So this is gonna be really good. So listen in, turn off the lights, light a candle. Let's fire this up.
My girlfriend just moved into a new home. She had been here for about 2 weeks prior, painting, moving small boxes in. There was zero activity or zero concern. Last night we got everything moved in, went to lay down. About 10 minutes into laying down, there was a loud commotion coming from down the hallway. I thought somebody was in the house, so I got up to try to deter whatever was in the house. Searched the whole area, every closet, any door, cabinet, anything you can open, thinking that it was an animal. Didn't think anything of it. Thought it was just the house settling, being used to new noises. There was a 24 pack of water laying in the middle of the kitchen that we had up by the sink. Moved that back. About 20 minutes after laying back down, we hear the exact same noise. Kick on the bedroom light, and the 24 pack of water was right back in the same spot in the floor. Also, throughout the night, there was other things like cabinet doors opening, a closet door that actually takes some force to open up, and that kept opening. It opened about 3 times throughout the night. She's pretty terrified to even be here.
Okay, you're there now?
Yes. Yes, we're here now.
Did you hear anything other than the physical? Was you muted?
Other than the physical, no. But she is saying throughout the few weeks that she had been here, she's got a 2-year-old son that's been coming with her, and 2 or 3 times while they was here, he would look back in the back bedroom. It's a single bedroom home, and ask who that was. And she chopped that up as a 2-year-old being a 2-year-old, and it was nothing until the activity last night. So now she's thinking that maybe he had saw something, or I don't even know.
Yeah, children have the sight very young like that, and he's 2. He probably did see it. I wish that she didn't pass it off. And she's going to be bringing him into that home. She needs a description of what he's seen. I mean, he's seen something.
Yeah, she asked him because originally when he asked, she kind of just asked, like, who's what? And then he looked over her right shoulder and he asked again. And then she just kind of looked around, told him that there was nobody there.
Yesterday was my first official day in there. Got most things moved in. And then it ended up being Matt and then my son, Tanner, who it's almost 3, ended up staying the night. No issues during the day, really no issues early evening, other than at one point while my son was playing in the bedroom, he stopped to look at the wall and he said, "Who's that?" And I said, "What do you mean, buddy?" And he said, "Who's that?" And then he went back to playing and just kind of brushed it off. And then he went to bed about 10 o'clock last night. Matt and I went to bed about 11, shut all the lights off. And about 15 minutes later, we got a noise coming out of my kitchen as if something was being dragged across the kitchen floor. We got up to look and try to find anything and couldn't, laid back down. And about 10 minutes later, it sounded like something very heavy was being dragged across my kitchen floor, like a table or a chair or a case of water that I had. But nothing had been physically moved. We completely searched everything in the house. Chairs were exactly where we had left them. Case of water was against the wall where we left them. Didn't find anything that really could have made a noise to that extent. Over the course of the next couple hours, there were a few other noises. One came out of the bedroom that I didn't quite catch, but Matt did, and he said it sounded like a little metal ball just hitting the ground or something, but not rolling. It was just a one drop noise, and he went to go look at it, and my closet door was open, and it's a very heavy one-fold accordion door that I completely shut before I went to bed. It takes quite a bit of pressure to open it back up, and we tried to find some sort of way that it could have opened by itself, but I don't think that there is one, and it seemed to line up as soon as that noise happened. And then there were a couple others through the night that sounded like they were coming higher up in my utility room, above my furnace and water heater, which those I'm still on the fence and could always, kind of blow off as being something in the utility closet or even a squirrel or something up in the attic. But the closet and the 2 big kitchen noises and my son seeing somebody, I can't really explain any of those. When I've gone in by myself before this, I felt just slightly anxious, a little bit uneasy, but no fear, anything, nothing that screams at me to get back out of the house. But last night after these noises started, I was a completely different person, full-on anxiety attack, uncontrollable crying. I got to the point where I was curled up in the fetal position on my couch in a blanket covering my ears like a toddler. It was completely out of the norm for me. I've never experienced anything like that just from, since I've been a little kid, I haven't curled up and had those kind of fits. But last night it hit me and I basically cried through most of the night. I woke up on the verge of tears, very just down, very anxious and on edge, and had just been crying on and off until I got out of the house. We finally just packed a bag and left, and I was able to calm down enough. I still felt a little tired and a little tense, but not the emotional aspects of it that I've been feeling in the house.
Okay, I did a long interview. I've been with them for, like I said, over an hour and a half. And her son, because I was drawing and utilizing paper and pen because I didn't have any cards or anything, so I was utilizing that for reading. And her son took over and was drawing and describing things that isn't normal, you know what I'm saying? And so as I was talking to him, he was talking about 2 children being in the house, like a boy and a girl, and describing the boy being in the bathtub and a little girl in a chair pointing, and he kept drawing and drawing in a path that they knew what he was drawing. And he was talking about fish in a fish tank and cars and stuff. Well, he ended up describing a neighbor's backyard that he had never been in. So I'm feeling like a lot of things is being where the child is seeing it. And he's very articulate about it. And then as soon as he would start giving us details and very adamant of what he was talking about, he went back to being just a normal 2-year-old, if that makes any sense. Suggesting that it's 2 children in the house that are trying to communicate of their activities and stuff in the house. She's pretty scared of what's going on, and every right so. I mean, when she talks about it, my energy goes sky high. I feel her anxiety. I haven't did a tap into it, but I feel the energy of her son, and I feel the energy of her, and it's pretty traumatizing, you know, to have things like that happen. But from what I was getting from the little boy and his story, I'm thinking it is just the kids, and that she could possibly take control of it. But like I said, she's never experienced anything like this, and she does have some fears.
Okay, here we have Nick the Champ, who would like to tell a story. He is co-producer of Redstone Audio Productions, and he has a ghost story he would like to tell. Take it away, Champ.
My mom and I were watching TV one night, and something in the kitchen caught our eye. We both looked over there and saw 2 small lights floating around. They stayed there for about 5 seconds and then just disappeared.
That was awesome, Champ. Thank you. That was great. Alright, we have Sammy here, one of our very good friends, to fire up the mic. And she would like to share a ghost story with us, so let her go ahead and take it away.
Thank you. This story starts about 10 years ago. My 13-year-old daughter and I were house shopping, and we found this neat little town about 30 minutes away from this busy city we lived in. And now, mind you, gifts run in our family like ESP and mediumship and precognition. So, you know, that helps when you're looking for a new house. Anyhow, my husband traveled for work and he had to help pick out a house online. So I started out with a pretty hefty stack of houses. I bet we looked at 50 houses. And one we didn't ask to see because when we approached, it was on this dead end street that was a straight uphill. And I mean just straight up. So my daughter and I, we drove up the hill and had kind of considered the house. And then we turned around in the driveway and we said, well, we'll think about it. On the way down, it was so steep, we were both screaming. And when we realized we got away with our life, we were like, heck no, we're not picking that house. We're not even going to look at it. Because, I mean, that hill was pretty scary. So after looking at all the houses that I had in my stack, I told my husband I still had not found a house. He said, oh, that's okay. I found a house. But I want you to go look at it for me and tell me what you think. And I was excited. And I said, of course, So I make an appointment with the realtor to go. And of course, I didn't know the exact address of the house that he was talking about until he sent it online. And I told the realtor where I wanted to go. I put it in my GPS and I met her there. Did not know it was going to lead to that very same house on that hill. So I thought, well, he said he found a house he really wants, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go inside and I'm going to look at it. And when I get on the property, generally, for me, if a house is good or bad, I know right away before I ever stood foot in it. I didn't get any feelings, got out of the car, didn't get any feelings. Well, I walked in the house, I just absolutely fell in love with the house. And so in the end, we bought the house. Now remember, my husband is having to live in another state at the time for his job. So he helped with the move. And I bet he got to stay one night and then he had to go back. My first week in the house, I kept getting this feeling that something was in the house with me or in the room with me when I was in the bed. And so I just continued to every night I would just go to sleep. It didn't bother me, didn't worry about it, didn't talk to me, whatever it was, until one night I opened my eyes and this guy is right smack dab in my face. And I was like, I shoot him away. I said, go away. I'm trying to sleep, go away. And I thought, this might be something that I'm going to have to come to terms with, whoever this is in this house. And because I'd been there a week, nothing horrid had happened. I never got any bad feelings. So I didn't worry about it. Till one night, there he is again, right up in my face. And I was like telling him, go away, just go away. And I closed my eyes. And all of a sudden, I heard this real loud voice. He said, boogly woogly. And I opened my eyes and he's right in my face. I said, are you serious? Go away. I cussed him. I sweared at him. And I said, go away. So eventually, I looked at the paperwork on all the house that we had, all of the previous owners, which it only looked like it had the person that made the house, and then a doctor. And this was back in the days when they had people coming in for visits here at this house for their doctor visit. And the doctor would make house calls. So this was a very long time ago when it was built, probably close to 100 years ago. Anyhow, the doctor's wife had been blind, which was why that made sense. That was why the house was built the way it was, and the back end of the house is very wide open. It's easily accessible, even with wheelchair and all that. So I thought, oh, okay, no big deal. So I thought, well, if I get approached again by this guy, I'll just try and figure out, is he the doctor or is he the man that built the house? So over time, we've discovered that something walks up and down our driveway. It sounds like cowboy boots in gravel. Our driveway is gravel. So many times I'd be out there by myself and I would hear this thing walking up and down the driveway and look, and there's nobody on the hill, nobody in the driveway, nobody in my yard or even near my house. So I kind of let that go. And till now, one night I was out there, and whatever it was said hi. It said hello. I was like, I heard it say hi. And I looked and I was like, hello. And I said hello, thinking somebody else was there. And then it repeated me saying hello. And I looked and there's nobody there. So I was very quickly made my way in the house, and I didn't say a word to anybody. About 2 or 3 years goes on till my husband finally gets to relocate back home and live at home with us. So we're here, and I didn't say anything to him because none of this ever bothered me. Strange stuff would happen. Sometimes doors would open or close on their own, and you would go by it knowing, well, I keep the door, extra rooms, shut, and walk by and they're open. And not at the very beginning, not being familiar with the house, I didn't know. Maybe it's settling. I don't know. So time goes by, and my husband says to me one night, he says, by the way, I was out in the garage and I was having a cigarette, and he said, something is walking around in the driveway and there's nobody there. And I laughed and I said, oh yeah, we got a buddy out there or something, there's something out there. And he was like, he wasn't a really super big believer in the paranormal. Well, the more time passed, and he said to me one day, he said, when I'm trying to sleep, there's this old lady and she keeps bugging me while I'm trying to sleep. And I said, well, maybe you were dreaming. He said, no. He said, I thought the same thing. And he said, she'll fool with my covers. And it's almost like she's patting, like feeling around. And I kind of laughed. And I said, well, I looked at the paperwork, and Dr. So-and-so used to own the house. And it turned out, what I found out history-wise was his wife was blind. So maybe that's her. And he just looked at me. His eyes were really big. Almost like, that does not bother you. And so he knows. I've always tried to tell him, years ago we were going to look for a house, and he pulled in this one driveway, and I said, get out of here. Just get out of here. I don't want to even, because I got a bad feeling. But I told him, whatever it is that's here, I don't have a bad feeling. I don't feel like it wants to hurt us. And he just kind of looked at me and shrugged his shoulder and said, whatever. He was like having a hard time getting used to this. So now here we are about 10 years down the road, and occasionally you'll hear somebody walk down the hallway that there's nobody there. Our linen closet door opens and closes 2 or 3 times in a row, almost as if to let you know this is not by accident, that it's happening. And it will always be after you've gone to bed, in the daytime or at night. I work overnight, so it happens even during the day. And several times during the day, on occasion, when it's really active, you'll hear stuff in the kitchen clanging around, pans, sometimes dishes. You never know. We've had cabinets or drawers open and close. So it's pretty freaky for somebody that's not used to this paranormal stuff. But man, I'm telling you, we have a busy household here with this stuff, and it doesn't seem to want to hurt us. I've not ever been harmed by anything here at this house. But that's my story. That was pretty interesting. I guess I would say I'm making friends with the ghost in the house.
Heck yeah, what better security system? Got some spirits hanging around. Thank you very much. That is awesome.
Well, thank you. Thank you for letting me share.
All right, here we have Mr. Dave Scott from Spaced Out Radio, the King Gnome himself. He's got a ghost story for us. Take it away, Dave.
Hi, Adam. How you doing, Mr. Ad Gnome? It's always great to have an opportunity to chat with you, my friend, and I'm so thankful that you're wanting to hear one of my ghost stories. So probably my most profound ghost story goes back even to way, way before Spaced Out Radio. Like, we got to go back to like 2001, 2002. All right. I just got to kind of hold my phone up here. There's one hill here. It's so hit and miss. Anyhow, hold on. So back in around 2001, 2002, my ex-wife and I lived in a duplex, and our best friends lived on the other side. And when we moved there, we decided it would be really cool because it would be kind of like built-in babysitting for both of us because we all had young children. And shortly after we moved in, we started hearing strange noises around. And this is way before I started Spaced Out Radio or even thought about the idea. And anyways, we started noticing things weird, strange sounds. Our drinking glasses and teaspoons disappeared, and it was absolutely ridiculous. And I remember one night I was over at my buddy's house next door playing crib, and my ex-wife, if she needed anything, she would signal me by just knocking on the wall. So I heard a knock, and I knocked back, and then she knocked back. So I figured, well, I better run back home and see what she needs. So I walk over to my place, which is, 20 feet away, open the door. I said, what did you need? And she goes, nothing. I only knocked because you knocked. I said, well, I knocked because you knocked. She goes, I didn't knock. And from there, weird things started happening even more. There were times where, every night we would have cleanup night in the kids' bedroom before bed. And then you'd wake up at 7:30 in the morning to get the kids ready for school, and the daughter's room would be absolutely destroyed. Toys all over the place, crayons writing on the wall, and it'd be like, what did you do? And she'd be like, Daddy, I didn't do anything. And as a parent, you're like, yeah, right. Like, the evidence is all over the place, and then you have to have the don't lie, and she'd say, Daddy, I'm not lying. I didn't do anything. And then one day evening, my daughter was in the bathtub, and I heard a woman's voice upstairs. And I knew at that time that was kind of weird because my ex-wife wasn't home. So as things progressed, the activity progressed. And one weekend or night, my daughter was over at her grandparents' house. And it was just me and my ex-wife sitting on our couch watching a movie. And we heard my daughter's squeaky bedroom door open up. And then we heard the pitter-patter of little feet running down the hallway into the master bedroom, our bedroom. And, excuse me. And then we heard jumping on our bed. You know how kids use mom and dad's bed as a trampoline. Well, my ex-wife and I, we really couldn't afford a new bed. So the bed we had, although very comfortable, was extremely squeaky. And it was so weird because we were listening to this, whatever it was, this child jumping up and down on our bed. And then shortly after that, a couple weeks after that, we heard, I was in Vancouver working, and my ex-wife was working as well. There was nobody home, and my friend's wife from next door calls me up and says, can you, and my ex-wife's name is Shar, can you and Shar please calm down in the bedroom? I'm trying to put my kids down for a nap. And I said, we're not home. And she's like, what do you mean you're not home? And I'm like, I'm in Vancouver. Char's at work. I have nothing going on right now besides work. And she's like, well, it sounds like you two are getting it on big time in the bedroom right now. And I said, well, either somebody's broken into our house or it's our ghost, kind of laughing. And she's like, wow, that's really weird. That's really weird. And I'm like, yeah, tell me about it. So a few weeks later, I got home from work at about 1 o'clock in the morning, and at about 1:30 in the morning, as I'm watching sports highlights, my daughter, who's a sleepwalker, she's about 3 at the time, she comes wandering downstairs, and I'm laying on the couch, and she comes downstairs and, cuddles up to be on the couch, laying on my chest, and falls back asleep. Well, I fell asleep on the couch. And my buddy next door had this real beautiful dog, but at 4 o'clock every morning, that dog would start barking. And he would bark and bark like there's no tomorrow. And it would go on. It wasn't just a couple of barks. Like, we're talking 15, 20 minutes straight of barking. And so it woke me up, and I figured, you know what, I'm going to go to the window, tell the dog to shut up because I'm tired and I got to be up in a couple of hours with the kid. And so I go to get off the couch, and I am facing the back of the couch. My daughter is in between me and the back of the couch. Her head is resting on my arm. So I go to roll over to get off the couch and slide my arm out from underneath her. And as I roll over, I face my TV, which is off because I had the timer on, and I realize that there is a little girl standing 1.5 feet, 2 feet in front of me. And I could see right through her, and the time on my VCR was 4:02 a.m. And she was wearing a white nightie. She had the puffy, baby fat cheeks that all kids have, and she had long ringlet hair. And I stared at her, she stared at me, and I kind of screamed. I went, ah! And I rolled over, I threw the blanket right back over top of my head, realized that it isn't my daughter. My daughter is still on my arm, and I'm now having those panicked breath attacks. You're like, because I don't know what the hell I just saw. Well, I do know it was a little girl. And the next thing I know, I figure, okay, I catch my breath, I'm going to roll over, and I'm going to look again, and she's gone. So I kind of mentioned it to my ex-wife, what had happened. And a few days later, and I kept the description kind of vague of what she looked like. A few days later, I'm over having a men's night at my buddy's house. Once a month, we would play PlayStation, and we'd have a college football tournament. And I got home at about 1:30 in the morning, and my ex-wife, as I crawled into bed, she wakes up, and she's like, you're not going to believe what happened. I said, what? She goes, I saw the little girl. I'm like, what do you mean you saw the little girl? She goes, that ghost that you saw? She goes, I saw it. I said, well, how did you see it? She goes, I don't know, but I've been crapping my pants in bed all night. She goes, I went downstairs because I heard the piano playing, and it was really annoying, and I thought it was the cats crawling upon the piano. And when I got, because we had a 2-tier stairway, she goes, when I got to the tier of the stairway and looked down at the piano, I saw the little girl banging on the keys like a little child would, softly. And then she turned, she looked up at me, I stared at her, and I quickly ran back up into bed and closed our door. So that was probably the freakiest ghost experience that I have personally had, because it literally involved a child, and I don't think you ever want to see a child in ghost form.
Dave, brother, man, that is freaking awesome. I like that. That was a great story. I appreciate it, man.
Oh, no worries, man. No worries. Yeah, that one scared the living hell out of me. I mean, because you don't plan for children. You know what I'm saying? You don't plan for children. You plan for everything else. You plan for adults. Like I've seen adult ghosts, right? And that doesn't scare me. But when it's a child, when it's a child, it gets really weird. And for my ex-wife to see exactly what I saw, because then we went through a description of everything, and she saw exactly what I saw. It was like, damn, man, this is way too weird. And then, so we kind of accepted it that our house was then haunted. And, I mean, we would see our cats. You know how cats, when they're playing, they're batting around. Imagine a cat batting around a moth. I remember my cats running downstairs and from upstairs and running down to where I was. And, oh, God, they're going to play some music behind me, and it's cranked. But anyways, I remember the cat running downstairs and coming up to, as we're eating dinner, and all of a sudden it's batting at something in the air, and there's nothing there. And this is like 5 feet in front of me. It's pretty easy to see a moth if it's or a fly if it's 5 feet in front of you. And there was nothing. But the night we moved out, my ex-wife and I, we were cleaning up the shelves, and we were upstairs wiping down where all our towels were on our towel closet. And from our storage room, her and I all of a sudden hear a little girl's voice say, "Mommy." And we looked at each other and we said, we're getting the fuck out of here right now. And that's how it ended. Never went back.
Wow. That is amazing.
Yeah.
That is, yeah. Children, it's a scary thought that children die. It's, and to have that happen, that's, man.
Yeah. I can share some more really cool stories with you. I got to go in for my photo shoot here because I got to get photos taken for the Spaced Out Radio website. But are you guys going to be on for a while?
Yeah, we'll be around for a while. Okay. You got some more stories? Yeah, bring them on, bro.
Yeah, I got a couple more I could share with you. I got to share with you guys. As you guys know, my nephew died a couple weeks ago. And that one hit me pretty hard. But I got to tell you the paranormal stuff that happened shortly after he died. It's pretty damn cool. Pretty damn cool. Oh, no, I got no problem sharing it. For me, it's been actually very comforting.
Our very own Morning Phoenix from Fire Up the Mic has a story she would like to tell us. Take it away.
Thank you, Adam. Or Solo Rocker. Today's August 10th of 2018, and this I came across on August 6th in the community I live at. We have our own Facebook community page, and I'd seen this video where a neighbor had posted. And in the video, he was looking at a bald eagle. And as I was watching it, I was paying attention to the eagle as well, but my eye was got distracted by these trees being shook really hard. And so I rewound looking at what I was seeing. And obviously I noticed they didn't see it because they kept following the eagle. The eagle was looking in the direction of the trees being shaken. And the eagle itself was on this tree that didn't have any branches on it, any leaves or anything whatsoever. And it was very brief, probably about a minute or so length of video. So like I said, I kept rewinding it to get a look at what I was seeing. And as I was stopping it frame per frame, it looked like you could see a figure, but there was no figure there. It was like cloaked, but you could see it in a way that if you've seen like the movie Terminator, it was really weird, and it was huge. And these trees are not like little what you call sparling like trees or anything. These are big trees, and these trees are being shook like no tomorrow. And as they're filming the eagle, the eagle was looking in that direction, and it took off the opposite direction, and they panned with that eagle, and they were flying across the lake that we live off of. And so I got out and I was like, I'm going to go find this tree and see if I can see where this was taken at. So I did. And I couldn't share the video because it was on privacy settings. So I apologize if I don't have a video for you to share. But I did go to the place, and I found that tree, and I was looking at it. And the tree is across away from where we live on. We're kind of like in an island, and it was across. So nobody would be over in those woods. Nobody lives over there in those woods or anything like that. So I did see where the eagle was. And then later that night, and I didn't find it until the next day, but from the post date of it, at about 3 o'clock in the morning, there was another post that on that side of the lake, on this island, it was facing over that direction. A gentleman put in there that somebody was hitting his door so hard that it almost breached the door, and he was going to the door, and by the time he got to it, there was nobody there, nobody outside. He looked outside everywhere, and we're a really tight community over here, and he thought it was going to be teenagers or whatever, but there was nobody inside out there. And so it kind of gave me the inkling that whatever I was seeing maybe in that video perhaps crossed over to our little island over here and was messing with his place. So that's all I have right now, but I'm going to continue to find out if anybody posts any more stuff, and I'll let you know as it comes about. Thanks for letting me share.
That is outstanding. A community thing. Yeah, keep us updated if you find anything else. Thank you very much. That was awesome.
You're welcome. Thank you for letting me do that, share.